Good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas of today, we're holding the fifth reading in the portion of Aida. We are holding on chapter 21, verse number 5. Avram ben Mayashana Bivad and Avram Avinu was 100 years old when he had Yitzchak, his son. Sarah, and Sarah said, Tzchok asali elikim. The Eibishter brought happiness to me. Kol Hashemeya Yitzchak li. Whoever will hear about this will be happy with me. Now she says, Yitzchak li yismach alai. He'll rejoice with me. And in the Agada, it explains, many barren women were remembered together with her. Many sick were cured on that day. And many prayers were answered together with hers. And thus, there was much rejoicing in the world. And she said, Mi mila Avram. She said, who? He who said to Abraham, Hiniko banim Sarah. Sarah will nurse children. Hiladati ben liskunav, for I've given birth to a son in his old age. Now she says, me is an expression of praise, of distinction, as who performed all this? Who creates all this? Look who this is and to what extent he keeps his promise. The Holy One, blessed be he, both makes promises and fulfills them. Milel said, that's the word Milel. The verse changes its expression and does not say more than usual than the word Diber, because the numerical value of Milel is 100. That's why it could have said Mi Diber Lavram. It says Milel because it wanted to tell you that Avram Avinu was 100 years old. Milel equals 100. Iniko banim Sarah. Sarah nursed children. That's plural. What does the children plural refer to? On that day of the feast, the noble woman brought their children with them, and she nursed them. They had been saying Sarah did not give birth, but brought in a foundling for the street. Maybe she found somebody in the street. They found somebody and they brought it in. So therefore, she showed that she could nurse. She got the capability to nurse. And the child grew up, and he was weaned for his mother. And Avram Avinu made a big party the day that Yitzchak was weaned. Now she says that, sorry. Rashi says that when was Vayigamel? When was he weaned? She says, in the end of 24 months. Mishter Gadol, what means a big party? That he invited the great people of the generation. Who are they? Shem and Aved and Avimelech. Ateda, Sarah ben Hagar, and Sarah saw the son of Hagar, Amitzis, who was an Egyptian. Ashayodel Avram, who gave birth to Avram a child, Ishmael, Mitzachik. What's Mitzachik? Rashi, he explains about idol worship, illicit cardinal relation, and even murder. So he saw that he was not such a great influence over here. This connotates idol worship, Mitzachik. As it says in Conference of Golden Calf, also it says by the golden calf they got up and Litzachik. Another explanation connotates immorality. As Potiphar's wife says about Joseph, Litzachik, he's coming to laugh, he wants to sleep with me. Yet another explanation, it connotates murder. As it says, let the young men get up and play by Yischaku Litzachik and Shmuel. They fought and killed each other. And therefore she saw that he did all these things. She said to Avram, it's time to send away this woman, and her son. Because I don't want that he should inherit you with my son. Now she says for Sarah's reply to Abraham, from Sarah's reply to Abraham, for the son of a bondswoman will not marry to inherit together my son, you can infer that Yishmael was arguing with Isaac over the inheritance. What does that do with inheritance? So we know that, so therefore the Medrash says that Yishmael was arguing and said, you're not going to inherit. I'm the older one over here. Saying, I'm the firstborn, I should receive a double portion. They would go out into the field, and Yishmael would take his bow and shoot arrows at Isaac. Thus, as the verse says, like one wearing himself out, throwing fire bands, who says, I'm only mesachik, I'm only playing. So you actually wanted to kill him. That's the attempted murder. In B'ni Yitzchak, the repetition im signifies, since he's my son, even if it were not worthy like Isaac, or one who's worthy as Isaac, even if he's not my son, but this Yishmael is not fit to inherit along with him. So therefore, he's basically an unworthy child. All the more so he's unfit to inherit with my son Isaac, because he has both qualities. He's bad traits. And the matter was very unhappy in the eyes of Abraham. He's distressed about his son. What does it mean? Because he heard that he went out evil ways. But the straight word meaning is that Sarah was telling him to send him away, and Avram Avinu didn't want to send him away. So God said to Abram, don't worry, don't be distressed about this situation. Whatever your wife tells you, you should do. Whatever Sarah tells you to do, because in the descendants of Yitzhak will be your Zerah. Rashi says, this teaches us Shema B'Keilah. This teaches us that Sarah was greater than Avram in prophecy. Don't worry. This son, Ishmael, I'll make him a great nation. Because he is your offspring. Yashkim Avram Bekis Avram Avinu got up in the morning. He took bread and he took a leather flask of water. He gave it to Hagar, and the son, and he sent them off. And she left and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. Now she says, but he didn't send. What happened to her? Avram Avinu should have sent him with money. He didn't send them with anything but that, because he said, look at this. He's gone to evil ways. He also put the child on her shoulders, because Sarah casted an evil eye upon him, so that a fever gripped him. He could not walk on his own. What does it mean? She left and wandered. She reverted to the idols of her father's house. The water ended in the flask. And she sent him and she casted the child under one of the brushes, because it was unusual for sick people to drink much, and he drank up all the water. And then she walked away and sat down in a distance. She stood in a distance of a bow shot away. She said, she said, I don't want to see the death of this child. She sat in a further distance, and she bursted out crying. Neged is merachik. Kematre Keser is a distance of 2 bow shots. That's kematre, that's why it says plural. And now she goes through all the places where it says kematre. She sat at a further distance. When he was near death, she moved even further away. Verse number 17, and the God heard the voice of the child. And an angel of God called Al Hagar min hashamayim, And the angel of God called out from heaven to Hagar. And he said to her, Ma lacha Hagar, what is the matter? Altiri, don't be afraid. Because God heard the voice of the Nar Basheru Sham, where he is. Now she will explain what it means Basheru Sham, where he is. So first was Kela Nar, while she was crying. Why did God hear the voice of the Nar when she was crying? From here we learn that a sick person's own prayer is more effective than the other people's prayer for him. That a person should not only want other people to pray for him, he should pray himself. And it's accepted before theirs. And that's why it says he heard the voice of the child. Asheru Sam, according to his present deeds, he's being judged, and not according to the future deeds. What does that mean? For the ministering angels were incriminating him. They said he was sick. The person is sick. That's when the angels come and they say before God, he's sick already, maybe he should die. But over here, furthermore, they came and they said, look at the future of this nation, the Ishmaelites. For the minute they master the world for him, whose descendants in the future will kill your children by thirst, you're going to provide him a well? And God says, what he is now, righteous or evil? Don't tell me what he's going to do later. The answer to him is mainly righteous. He said to them, judge him according to his present deeds. This then is meant what it here says, and where did Ishmael kill Israelites by thirst? When Nebuchadnezzar exiled them, it says a prophetic message concerning Arabia. For the thirsty bring water. When the captives were taken from near the Arabians, descendants of Ishmael, the Israelites said to their captives, we beg you, take us to the descendants of our uncle Ishmael, and they'll have pity on us. And as it says, caravans of Dedanim, they're not called Dedanim, but called them Doidim, relatives. These Ishmaelites then came out to bring them salted meat and fish and flasks of inflated with air. The Jewish people thought they were full of water, and when each of them put to their mouth and opened it, the air entered their bodies and they died. So this is a story that happened later in history, in the time of the destruction of the first temple. Take this child, and grasp him with your hand, because I'm going to make this child into a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and she filled up the flask of water, and she gave the child to Jacob. God was with this child. And he lived in the desert. And he became an archer. Now she says he one who shoots arrows with a bow. Actually, koshas refers to a trade, bowman, like chama, donkey driver, gomel, a camel driver, tzayid, a hunter. And therefore, there's a dogish, there's a dot in the letter shin. But usually when you find a dot in a letter, it's called a dogesh, coming to underline something. That does has about that was his trade. His trade was an archer. He would live in the desert and rob travelers. That was his profession. So his profession was he became a professional. What do they call the guys in the wayside robbers? Thus, concerning him, his hand will be set against everyone. That's the blessing that he was given before. Yodei Bakel. Basically, he's going to be a person that's going to be everybody who's going to pass him will not forget him, because he's basically going to hurt everybody. Come in. Yesha b'midbar Paran, and he stayed in the desert of Paran. And his mother took him a wife in this land of Egypt. Now she says, from the place that she grew up. As it says, Sarah had an Egyptian bondswoman whose name was Hagar, that the prophets tell people throw a stick. That's what it says, a statement in Proverbs, throw a stick in the air, you'll always come back to its root. So when you threw Hagar out of the house, where's she going back? She's going back to Mitzrayim. So she went back to her roots. She went back to Egypt. That's the Chumash. Give me 1 second. Hello? Yeah, okay. So, ahead. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. And that ends the Chumash for today. I apologize. Somebody just came here. Very important thing. Going on to the Tanya of the day. We're going to continue the 27th letter of Tanya, of the Alter Rebbe. It talks about the greatness, the neshama of a tzaddik. Neshama of a tzaddik. What is the soul of every righteous individual? And with this, we understand which the truth is, from the tzaddik, we learn to all of us, because the tzaddik comes to the world, the righteous man comes to the world to teach everybody an important lesson, like we learn from Avraham Avinu and Sarah, etc. So the Alter Rebbe said the life of a tzaddik is his faith, his love of God, faith in God, his love of God, and his faith in God, love of God, and his awe-ness, his fear of God. Now, while the tzaddik was alive on this earth, then these three attributes, these three attributes was in the vessel of his body. So these three concepts was in his body. It was in his physical body. Which is the lowest level of the soul, which is the nefesh of the soul, which is connected to his body. So therefore, during his lifetime, all his disciples receive is only from the reflection of these attributes and ray from them, which shines and radiates out of this vessel, the body of the tzaddik, by means of his holy words. And his thoughts, tzaddik's utterance and thoughts are able to reveal no more than a minor ray of his attributes. And that's why the sages of blessed memory say that you cannot really understand the teachings of your it says until you reach 40 years. So after 40 years, maybe you'll be able to reach the essence of your teaching. That's one of the reasons why the Jewish people were 40 years in the desert, because it took 40 years to understand the Torah. To really understand something, you have to be with Moshe Rabbeinu for 40 years. That's what the Jewish people were for 40 years with Moshe Rabbeinu, who sat with them and taught them Torah, and they got it after 40 years. It took them 40 years. That's what happens, because really, to understand your teacher, you need to be with him for 40 years. You need to be with him over and over and over again to be able to get the depth of him. After the tzaddik passes away, since the nefesh remains in the grave, separate from the ruach, which comprised of these three attributes after his passing, is in Gan Eden. Therefore, what happens is when the tzaddik passes away, then his nefesh, that's why we go to the cave of a tzaddik, because the nefesh of the tzaddik is always with the tzaddik. The tzaddik never loses his nefesh. And that's why it's one of the reasons that a tzaddik, a righteous man, is a person that doesn't decompose in his grave. because his nefesh always stays with him. The truth is, it's by every person, but it's much greater by a regular person. He decomposes, so he has a very, very small nefesh in him. But the tzaddik's nefesh never leaves the tzaddik, but his ruach does. His ruach goes l'mayla, ruach olam mayla. His ruach goes above, goes beyond his body. So the three attributes now unbounded by his body are in Gan Eden, a spiritual space whose atmosphere surrounds every individual in this world, as the Alter Rebbe explains. The fichak, yachol, kalakarev, elav. Therefore, now it's open sesame, as they say. Now it's opened, totally uncontained, totally unbridled. It's totally an open concept. The spirit becomes an open aspect, available for anybody who wants to connect to the spirit. And it's unlimited. So everyone who's close to receive it, part of his ruach, which is in Gan Eden, and actually a part of the very essence of these attributes, as opposed to a mere reflection of them. Now you can connect to the essence of the tzaddik, more greater when he's not in this world, when he's in the higher worlds. Because at this present time, he's not in a vessel. And he's not in a physical space. He's above space and time. The tzaddik's ruach is above space and time. As we know the statement that it says, that the sages say on Yaakov Avinu olav hashalom. So Yaakov Avinu, we say a blessed memory. And then, shenichnas imay Gan Eden, that it came within him Gan Eden. Meaning, when Yaakov Avinu came to Yitzchak, his father, Rashi says that Yitzchak smelt Gan Eden. He suddenly smelt Gan Eden. It means that Yaakov Avinu in this world walked with Gan Eden. He walked with Gan Eden. So Yaakov Avinu in the world, he was taka above the world. He walked in with Gan Eden. The problem is that the students cannot see that. Yitzchak realized that. Now Yitzchak, his father, was also a tzaddik. When Yaakov Avinu walked into the room, he felt Gan Eden and walked into the room. The paradise walked into the room with him. Because Yaakov Avinu was a Jew that even when he was alive, he was in Gan Eden. He was already in the higher worlds. He was already a spiritual entity. But the problem is, again, the students don't realize. They see just the body. They don't see the Gan Eden. But after the person, after he passed away, the Gan Eden is revealed. In Kabbalah, it's written that the atmosphere of Gan Eden is envelops every individual. So it's right now, every person you're in Gan Eden. Gan Eden is right here. People think paradise is someplace else. Gan Eden is right here. Every mitzvah I do, I create a Gan Eden. And that's why the expression, what is your atmosphere? Right? Some people you don't want to be around. They're almost like a Gehenna. They're like a Gehenna people. Everything is negative. They're walking Gehenna. Who wants to be around? Who wants to be in the atmosphere of Gehenna? People like to be in a positive atmosphere. So what's the atmosphere? A person creates his atmosphere. A person creates his atmosphere. If a person's a positive person, a person a good person, then he creates an atmosphere of goodness. People like to be around a person that's a positive person. So that's the avir. It's not something that's tangible. It's something that is like a feeling. That's Gan Eden. So in the Shabbat Kol, in this atmosphere that a person creates of goodness, he creates his atmosphere, and now everything that he does goes to that atmosphere. Hatoivim, every good thing that he does, every good word that he says, every good action that he does, but Avodas Hashem, the utterance of Torah, and the worship of God, he creates the atmosphere of God. And then the Alter Rebbe puts in parentheses, because he doesn't really want to say it. And so to the opposite. The Shalom Ba'avim of Gehenim. We create a Gehenim too. Chas v'shalom. All the negatives that we do, we're creating a Gehenim. Now we're creating a Gehenim in Lamaila only. We're creating a Gehenim Lamata. We're creating hell right here. And what's the hell? Negativity. Negativity. Saviv kol adam. It's surrounding the person. It's the atmosphere. It is his atmosphere. You have an atmosphere of good. You have an atmosphere of negativity. Some of us have both. To summarize, every tzaddik's passing, his power and his faith and awe and his love are not limited by his bodily. So suddenly leaves him, that atmosphere stays. The atmosphere doesn't leave. So the body of the tzaddik leaves, but his atmosphere, what he created in the world, what he did, the love and the fear, the awareness of God and the belief of God and all the good that he does, this atmosphere, anybody can connect to this atmosphere. And the atmosphere is anywhere. There's no limitation to this atmosphere. We're right now connecting to the teaching of the Alter Rebbe. This is the atmosphere of the Alter Rebbe. We're walking in. We're connecting to that emotion. We're connecting to that love of the Alter Rebbe to God. We're connecting to his atmosphere. We're connecting to the essence of the Alter Rebbe at this present time. And it's very easy. We're sitting and learning Tanya. That's it. We're learning Tanya. We hopefully are being inspired by what the Alter Rebbe, this rabbi, wants to teach us, and we're connecting to what he taught when he was alive, and what he and that atmosphere, what he taught when he's alive, is right now here at this present time, as we learn it. And Hilkach and everybody, nobody over here met the Alter Rebbe, nobody here saw the Alter Rebbe. It's not important. It's important what the Alter Rebbe wanted to bring to the world in the way a Jew should connect to God, and the way a Jew should connect to each other, and what was his teaching, and that was his atmosphere, and that atmosphere is right here. And therefore, Hilkach Nokel Ma'od, it's easy. It's easy. It's not a hard thing to connect to that atmosphere. If I want to connect to the teachings of the Alter Rebbe, I'm doing it right now. So I'm connecting to this teaching. Hopefully I'm learning it. Hopefully I understand, and I'm going to incorporate that atmosphere in my atmosphere. That's where that's where you understand. We can influence each other's atmosphere. We create an atmosphere, and hopefully we influence each other in a positive atmosphere. That's what it says in the Mishnah. A person should always greet each other with a happy smile. That's the atmosphere. When a person is smiling, he creates an atmosphere of happiness. So why wouldn't you want to create an atmosphere of happiness to make somebody else happy? So your atmosphere creates another atmosphere of happiness, and that atmosphere will create another atmosphere. And so on and so forth. So too, if I want to connect to the atmosphere of a tzaddik, doesn't make a difference if he's here, if he's not here, doesn't make a difference if I know him, I don't know him. It's not important. Because that's all physicality. That's all time and space. I'm going into a concept that's above time and space. I'm going into a concept that's a feeling. That's an atmosphere. That's something that's above time and space. I can do that. And we all can do that. Easily can do that. Just by connecting to the ways of the tzaddik and connecting to the atmosphere of that tzaddik that he brought into the world. Again, which the atmosphere of a tzaddik, and that's the essence of a tzaddik, of the righteous person, is his emunah, his faith in God, his yirah, his awe, humble before God, and avasai, his love of God. Asher ava behemas Hashem, the way he served God. And again, just as we learned Tanya, we can see from the teachings of Alter Rebbe the way he served God. He didn't tell people to do things that he didn't do. So whatever he told you, tell people to do, he did. He told you to be happy, he was happy. He told people to love God, he would love God. So it wasn't merely a glimmer, therefore, which radiates beyond the vessel, which reached them through his thoughts or words, or the tzaddik was still alive. No, we're going to connect to the essence of the tzaddik. Sometimes the body of the tzaddik, we get lost into the body of the tzaddik. Oh, how holy he looks. This we don't even know what the tzaddik looks like. There's a picture of the Alter Rebbe. We're not even sure if that's the right picture. But whatever, we're not into the physical part of the tzaddik. We are into his teachings. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu tested the Jewish people also before going into Israel. You're not going to. This generation saw God. They were on Mount Sinai. Now you're going into generations and not seeing God. They haven't seen all these miracles. They're going to all have the inspiration from the Word of God. And we see that always seeing is not really seeing is not always something that can change people. The Jews in the desert struggled with God, even though they saw. Because ultimately everybody has a challenge in life. And they had a greater challenge maybe that they saw when somebody hears something. But everybody has their challenges. But the point is, today we don't see, like the Jews in the desert. We don't see all these miracles. That's when people say, oh, if I would see, I would see them. If I lived in the desert, I saw a mountain Torah, I saw all these miracles, maybe I would do things different. It's not true. And the proof is in the story of the Torah itself. That's not true. Because ultimately, connecting to a spirit is much greater. It's unlimited than connecting to see something. We get stuck in the technical things when we see something. When the tzaddik is here, because the tzaddik cannot reveal his essence when he's here because he's physical. Now the tzaddik has lost his physicality. So you take away the physical part of the tzaddik and you only live with his true essence, with his true service. That's when you live with the real concept of this righteous person. Because the essential aspect of his spirit of the tzaddik is essential. Not his body, his essential. Not even his thought, not even his words. It's the essential part of the tzaddik, which is faith. It's above words. Faith, awe, and love. These are above words, even though they're expressed in words, but faith, awe, and love is an expression, is a feeling that you get the tzaddik. If you ever saw a tzaddik, ever merited to be in the presence of a tzaddik, you'll know it's not only what the tzaddik says, it's the way he lives his life. He lives it with Ava. And the truth is, when you learn Tanya, you can see the Alter Rebbe, his love of God. When he talks about godliness, his love of God. When he talks about human being, how human beings should be humbled, his fear of God. And his amunah, the unbelievable faith of the Alter Rebbe. You can, as you learn Tanya, you can touch it. You can see what the Alter Rebbe wrote about faith. What means amunah? He wrote a whole chapter. Shara Yichad ve'amunah. What's the concept of a Jewish faith? So everyone can connect to that concept if you want. And it's known. This is an important concept, not only to the Alter Rebbe, but to every tzaddik, but to every one of us, that when we do something holy in this world, we call it never leaves. Nobody can take it away. We bring Kedusha in the world, it never disappears from the world. It always stays in the world. Nobody can take it away. Nobody can diminish it. Nobody can extract it. It's once I bring a holy thing in this world, I do a holy reality in the world, this holiness stays forever. Right? So the Temple Mount is holy, whether there's a mosque on there, or you can put anything you want to put up there, it's a Makom Kodesh. Because why the Jewish people made it holy? Thousands of years ago, it doesn't change. Kedusha ain't a zazim and kainai. Kedusha never moves from its place. Even after it leaves, right? The Beis Hamikdash is not there. The tzaddik is not here. The tzaddik has physically left us. But the Kedusha doesn't leave. The holiness doesn't leave. Rather, some traces always remains into the original lowly location, even the location, as noted above. So with the tzaddik daven, that's what the Rebbe always say, 770 is where the Frierdiker Rebbe daven, and when the Frierdiker Rebbe learned, and when the Frierdiker Rebbe did his, it never go. The kedusha will never go away, because here was a tzaddik's avodah. That's where he did his avodah. It's never gonna leave. It will always stay here till Mashiach comes. As noted, the lower Gan Eden is to be found even in the lower worlds of Asiyah, that ultimately, even the spiritual worlds above, ultimately are here in the physical worlds. It's its original aspect driving from the Ruach of the Tzaddik, remaining below in the lower Gan Eden and in its original place and level, which extends itself to amongst all his disciples. And this aspect that has attached itself in the essential aspect of the Ruach Tzaddik, its entire purpose is to be vested within it, because the Tzaddik didn't come to the world to just be here and then leave. Tzaddik wanted to affect the world, and when the Tzaddik wants to affect the world, then the world is affected. And once the world is affected, now everybody can connect to that effect of that world. It all depends on the level of the bond, the kreva of the closeness that I want to be to this tzaddik. Whether in the lifetime or after his passing, out of abundance of love. And that's also important to realize. The more I love the subject, I'm learning Tanya, which is again the teaching of the Alter Rebbe. The more I love it, the more I'll connect to it. The more I enjoy learning, you should know in general that's what. The more I enjoy learning, the more I learn. If this is a burden upon me, I'm doing it out of whatever, duress, or I have to do it, it's very difficult to learn. That's why sometimes as a child, they learn more when they get older, when they feel less duress. And therefore, an adult also can, if it's up to us to why we're learning. That we're learning because we love the concept, whether it's Torah, whether it's Gemara, whether it's Shulchan Aruch, it's all the rots in the will of a person. Does he feel that he's loving the subject? For anything spiritual is elicited only by the means of an abundant love. It all comes out through chesed, through ava, through love. The more I love somebody else, the more I connect to him. The more I love the subject, the more I connect to it. And that's why it says you should learn a subject which you love, because then you will learn much more of it. And when the degree of love is present, three attributes of faith, fear, and love are drawn down. Which as is brought down in the Zohar, the Ruach, the Rusa, the Liba, that the spirit of Ruach in the inner heart desires, Amshich Ruach elicits a spirit from above. You need to realize that's why Avas Hashem, Haftas Hashem Alekecha. You shall love the Lord your God, because love makes a connection between me and God. The more I have Avas Hashem, the more I'll have Yiras Hashem. Because love is a concept of a relationship. A relationship creates a bond. Avas Hashem, Avas Ha'adam, any love is important. The more I love somebody, the more I want to connect to him. So to the disciple, heartful love for the master draws down these three attributes. That's why even as a teacher, when as a student doesn't like his teacher, it's hard to learn from him. It's hard to learn from him. If you love your teacher, then you will learn from him. And it's easy for you to learn from him. Only if he will prepare himself towards his God with great preparation and intense effort. As explained by unnamed elder Chassid and Kol Likutei Haggadah, is great preparation refers to the preparation of the soul. Intense effort refers to the toil of the body. Kabel Shalish Midas Eilah, that he will receive these attributes in a way that his master taught him, that he wants to have Avas Hashem. He wants the love of God. He wants to have Yiras Hashem. He wants to be in awe of God. He wants to have Emunas Hashem. This takes effort for a human being. that he should be able to, that his body should accept it. Maimon, I was saying in the Chayim of Bracha, as our sages tell us, Gaiti umatsasi tamen. That's one of the verses that the Lubavitch Rebbe wanted everybody should know by heart. And if a person says, you're Gaiti, I've looked for something, v'lo matsasi, and I didn't find it, don't believe him. If a person says, I didn't look for something, and I found it nevertheless, you didn't, not true. There's only one truth. When it comes to a person searching godliness, is Yagaiti, I have searched, Umatsasi, and I have found. Kamen, that is believable. Because a person that thinks that he gets godliness without work, he's not getting godliness. He's getting some fantasy. Because you're a human being. And for a human being to be able to grasp these three concepts of emunah, true faith, true love of God, true awe of God, takes yegia, takes effort. Explained by Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, only if he will prepare himself towards his God with great preparation and intense effort means that every man's trust is vested, his faith and awe and love within his physical everyday life in the observance of Torah mitzvahs. You have to create, not that you're doing what is right, you're doing it with these three things. A Jew needs to do these things. He needs to do a mitzvah because he loves God, because he's in awe of God, and because he believes in God. That's why. Not that we can do Torah mitzvahs without these things, but that's not matzasa. You're not going to find it. You're not going to find true essence. You're not going to find yourself. You're not going to find God in this. It will be stemmed from the concentration of explanation. That meaning, if you have labored, believe it. That is an individual that is gains a great deal more than what he actually labored for. Very much like the unexpected find. That's what you got to matzasa. And that's the point. The point of the Frierdiker Rebbe is that not only when you're going to labor, you'll get what you labored for. No, through your labor, you're going to find something even more you labored for. Matzasa, you're going to find a gift. Through his toil, successive generations of offshoots are bound up with their source, with an essential aspect of the spirit of the tzaddik, which he raised, elevated beyond elevation, to become absorbed in his neshama. So when we learn Tanya, when we learn Torah, we connect to God, we connect to a tzaddik, we connect to a spirit that will give us something more than we even prepared ourselves for. So the disciple of tzaddik does benefits not only from the ruach, insofar as it remains in the lower Gan Eden, but also for the essential ruach as incorporated in his neshama that's found in the higher Gan Eden. Surely this gain is far outstrips the individual's effort. And that's the Frierdiker Rebbe says that's what the Alter Rebbe brings out over here. The guy to Matzah Tamid, the Alter Rebbe wanted to tell you that when you work hard, you will get more than what you worked for. This level of energy, as Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the Frierdiker Rebbe concludes, is not integrated internally within the disciples. Really, it encompasses them in a transcendent manner. Nevertheless, so powerful that enables even their successive generations of offshoots to produce unending generations of further offshoots. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the Frierdiker Rebbe, also states that by toiling in the path that was handed down by their master, by our tzaddik, disciples cause his spirit life of faith and awe and love to descend into the practices of their own divine service, Torah and study and observance of mitzvahs. Through this labors, moreover, even the further disciples who are in the successive generations of the offshoot become connected with their source in a continuously ascending ruach and neshama and spirit of a tzaddik who is in a higher Gan Eden. Whoa, what a beautiful. Okay, what a beautiful teaching of today's Tanya, what should I tell you? My dear friends, today is the 15th day of the month, Cheshvan. The Psalms of the day is chapter 77 and chapter 78. You do those two chapters, you do the Chitas of the day. And now the Hayom Yom of the day. Listen to these words. The Rebbe writes, the soul awaits the time it will be privileged to descend into a body. For the soul senses how much it can accomplish here below. It can attain the level of delighting with God, which he cannot do in Gan Eden. So if a Jew understands how long, right? Because my neshama was created before creation. My neshama is thousands of years old. My soul is thousands of years old. My neshama has been waiting for thousands of years to come into my body. Because even though he was in Gan Eden, he was in paradise, his soul. But what he can accomplish in this world, he can't accomplish. And we learned Chassidus many times that the difference between the upper worlds, which Alter Rebbe said today, in the upper worlds, it's all ha'ara, it's only a shine of God. In this world, it is the essence of God. And the Neshama connects to the essence of God. Only in this world. So if you understand that, so what is everybody waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are we waiting for? Let's get to work. Let's go do mitzvahs. Let's go do Torah. What are we waiting for? What is the procrastination? Why are we procrastinating? The neshama is waiting thousands of years to come in and over here in this world, and we're procrastinating. What are you procrastinating for? Go and do good. Stop wasting your time. Go and do good. And I wish you a wonderful day. And first of all, two things. Mirchem today at 10 o'clock. Come to Chabad. We're going to learn a Sikh of the Rebbe on the portion of the week. Come and learn 10 a.m. Come on Zoom also, and you can learn it on Zoom. And tonight, not on Zoom, come and learn halacha. Come and learn Jewish law. As we learned in Tanya, that there's no place for God. Where do you find God today in the physical world? In halacha, Jewish law. But tonight, we're going to start a new class called halacha, the laws. It's like, why is it like the laws? Why is it fuzzy? No, it's fuzzy. Okay. The laws of tzedakah and tfilas kelim. This is a Simichas Chavod. This is a class that's put together by Halacha and You, that they put together a phenomenal class in Jewish law, and you're going to learn law from the pasuk. They really did a phenomenal job from the pasuk, from the verse to the Gemara, to the Shulchan Aruch, earlier commentators, later commentators. Really a beautiful class. It's open for everybody. Come at 7 p.m. and come and learn simple halacha, simple Jewish law. And actually the law that they're teaching in tzedakah is a simple Jewish law, and you'll see all the ramifications of a simple Jewish law. If I ask you the question, how many psukim is written about tzedakah in the Torah, you will be shocked. How many psukim is written in the Torah about the concept of tzedakah? I don't think people know it. And I'm not going to tell you. Come tonight, 7 p.m.
There is nothing.